order. This meeting is held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, 10:4-6 at C. Annual notice having been forwarded to the New Jersey Herald and the New Jersey Sunday Herald and posted on the bulletin board maintained in the municipal building for public announcement. Will you please rise and join me in a salute to the flag? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, call roll.
Mr. Chirilla.
Yes.
Mr. Diamond.
Yes.
Ms. Cadman.
Yes.
Mr. Cadman. Ms. Croft, sorry.
Yes.
Councilman Kusevich.
Here.
Mr. Mizzalewski.
Here.
Chairman Wright.
Here.
Mr. Rossi.
Here.
Ms. Snow.
Here.
Mr. Taylor.
Here.
Mr. Wagner. Mayor Galati. Here.
Okay, very good. Minutes. A motion is in order to approve the minutes, the meeting minutes of June 3rd, 2025. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second it. Okay, motion is second.
Mr. Chirilla.
Yes.
Mr. Diamond.
Yes.
Mr. Cadman.
Yes.
Ms. Croft.
Yes.
Councilman Kusevich.
Yes.
Chairman Wright.
Yes.
Ms. Snow.
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
Mayor Galati.
Yes.
Okay, next item on the agenda is resolutions. We have none. Next item is correspondence. We have no correspondence this month. Escrow refunds, we have none. Bills, do I have a motion to pay the bills? Mont McDonald, Dolan and Dolan, and New Jersey Herald and Van Cleef. Make a motion to pay the bills. A second.
Mr. Chirilla.
Yes.
Mr. Diamond.
Yes.
Mr. Cadman.
Yes.
Ms. Croft.
Yes.
Councilman Kusevich.
Yes.
Chairman Wright.
Yes.
Ms. Snow.
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
Mayor Galati.
Yes.
Okay. Voting officer report. Bill, you have anything?
Yep, just a short one. I handed it out to everybody. This is 12 Village Road. It was a new house that was approved back in March last year. And the project's been sold. And the new people, they're using the same plans, same footprint. It's the only difference is they've actually added a foot of height. It's the upper level instead of 8-foot ceilings. I think they want 9-foot ceilings. So it's leaving it at 29 feet, 113/32. So it's still well under the 35 feet. So it doesn't trigger any variances, but I just wanted to let the board know about it in case anybody had any issues, but I figure I'm just going to prove it.
You're good.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is discussion, no discussion, old business. We don't have any. New business, the resolution adopting the housing element and fair share plan, borough will attack on Laney Court. We're gonna just hold that to the end, this way we can get to the applicants. So we'll take that at the end of the meeting. So, all right, the continued applications, first one is Elton Barone. Block 31402, lot 1, lot 11 and 6434 Byron Bay Road.
Good evening, Daniel McCarthy III, attorney at law for PACON. On behalf of Mr. Eitan Barone, we were here back in 2023. There was a resolution memorialization. I can report that some of it's been fulfilled, namely the subdivision deeds have been recorded for the lot line adjustment. And Mr. Barone is just looking for a little bit more time to kind of better implement his construction project. There's some things that have come up. Nothing that's going to affect land use or the approval, but just some things that logistics and things like that. And if there's anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, just going right now to the process of taking our design and making sure that the logistics are all prepped for easy construction and access to the property and all the engineering filing, also the property is very steep, so making sure we have the proper support, the proper time to do the drainage calculation, all of that.
This was Barker property.
Yes, the old Pete Parker property,
Okay.
34 Byron Bay Road.
All right, so. What are we looking for? I think they're looking for an extension, yeah, so I have a motion to grant an extension. I'll make the motion.
Second.
With no public discussion, not.
Not on an extension.
Yeah, we're
It's
within
already
the
done.
figure, we're within the time
Yeah.
period where you don't need the
Okay.
notice.
Mr. Chirilla.
Yes.
Mr. Diamond.
Yes.
Mr. Cadman.
Yes.
Ms. Croft.
Yes.
Councilman Kusevich.
Yes.
Chairman Wright.
Yes.
Ms. Snow.
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
Mayor Galati.
Okay, you're all set.
Thank you for your time.
All right, next application is a new one. It's Brian Wisdom, block 30501, lot 4, 307 Lakeside Boulevard.
Evening once again, Daniel L. McCarthy III on behalf of the applicants. Just a second. I have with me tonight, Mr. Brian Wisdom and, his wife Rahana Mahalovic. They're both here. I know, Mr. Wisdom's going to offer testimony, his wife May, and we have our expert, Tom Graham, who will offer testimony. So I don't know if we want to swear them in or if it is. One for us somewhere. Or here. Whatever you like, or not, I just need a little clock to keep my. It's here.
All three, raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. We'll
Yes.
start with you, Brian. You're a property owner,
Yes.
and your full name is Brian Wisdom,
Yes.
and you're a property owner as well. Your full name? Could you spell that? Okay, you're a property owner, and Mr. Graham, you're a licensed.
Near Dyson Design Group, I testified in front of the board on numerous occasions, and qualified as a professional candidate.
Your license is correct.
It is.
Okay, if we might start. So in a different venue, one might ask, if a tree falls in the forest and no one is there to hear it, does it make a sound? We can let the philosophers wrestle with that one day. However, before this board tonight, the question is, if two trees fall and wipe out lawfully existing structures on a previously approved non-conforming lot, does the homeowner get to put his structures back? So that's what we're here to discuss tonight. And with that, Mr.
Let me interrupt you just a second. This is a D variance, so only the class 3 members can participate. It's a D variance because this property was subject to a prior approval. There is a boathouse with one apartment in it.
Yeah, so.
So the mayor and council have to recuse themselves.
So themselves, right?
So with that in mind, Mr. Wisdom, as the board attorney, Mr. Hadley just indicated, you were here in front of this board before, correct?
Yes.
And to just kind of very quick recap, what was that application about, just very briefly?
To certify that the boathouse is a pre-existing structure with a kitchen and a living facility separate from that. Amazing.
And that resolution was adopted by the board in May of 2022.
Yes,
Okay, since then, you've continued to own the property, right?
yes,
And as noted in the resolution, it was this one of the subjects was short-term rental use. Is that correct?
yes,
So in the summer of 22, did you obtain a short-term rental license?
yes,
And the same with 23,
yes,
the same with 24,
yes,
and the same with 25.
yes,
So you, for 4 years straight, you've gotten those licenses, right?
yes,
Okay, and you've operated the property in accordance with the pre-existing resolution, correct?
yes.
Okay, at some point, calamity struck,
Mhm.
correct? Would you like, I'd like to hand out some,
I've got 8.
we've got some pictures for the board.
Those you want one?
We'll mark this as.
Yeah, we have A1 through 4. We put today's date on the bottom right, and then underneath each picture, we put the approximate date that they were taken. So, Mr. Wisdom, I'm going to show you what we've pre-marked, applicants A1. We'll let them, everybody have copies?
Yeah.
We have more if you need them.
No, we're good. And the audience,
You got one, Bill?
There we have more here.
just hand it around. Oh, wow.
So, Mr. Wisdom, I'm gonna refer you to picture A1. Did you take this picture?
Yes,
Okay, and approximately when did you take this picture?
April 2024.
Okay, and can you tell me what is depicted in this picture?
A large tree fell on my garage, taking the garage completely out down to the foundation.
So is it your testimony that the garage was previously destroyed?
Yes,
And when you were here before the board the last time, this garage was existing, correct?
yeah, 2-car garage, yep.
Okay. I'm gonna show you the next picture, which is marked applicant A2. Can you tell me what is shown there?
That's what remains from after they cleaned up the debris, just the footings were left.
And again, you took this picture
Yes,
in or about when?
April 2024.
Okay. And as if one tree wasn't bad enough, I'm gonna show you what's been marked as applicants A3. Can you tell me what did you take this picture?
Yes,
And approximately when did you take it?
February 2023, a large tree from my neighbor's property went across my property, all the way across to my other neighbor's property.
Okay, so on your property, did it destroy anything?
A retaining wall, patio, and it scraped along the back of the house, so it took out one window.
Okay, the picture on the right-hand side, does it show some, plantings there?
Yes, so it went across my property into my neighbor's property, taking out the shrubbery that separates the property.
Okay, the next picture is, A4. Can you tell me, did you take this picture?
Yes,
And the approximate date?
February 2023,
And why are you offering this picture?
just to show an example how large this tree was, and that's where it originated from my neighbor's property and went across my property to my other neighbor's property.
Okay, so before, we move on to the, engineer, the use of the boathouse, did you receive the report, prepared by Joseph R. Buick? Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. All right. He's a board engineer plan of the report in question is dated May 30th, 2025, correct?
Yeah, for the garage.
Right, and they're asking on page 3 of 4 at the bottom, section 5.1, can you tell me about the current use of the existing boathouse as it pertains to habitation?
It's a guest house, that we rent out every once in a while for Airbnb.
Okay, so we're gonna get to question or point 5.4, but before we do that, just if you can very briefly, quickly summarize what it is that you intend to do with construction work on your property if the board approves this application, just very briefly.
So the garage has to be built set back, so it's gonna allow us to put 4 parking spots up in the front there where it was, the garage was right up against the road. So to comply with the new laws, we're gonna set it back. And instead of just putting 2 spots, we're gonna make as many spots as we can. So we'll have ability to have 4 cars at the top by the road.
Okay, so your
Good idea.
old garage that got demoed by the tree, that actually was encroaching on the neighbor's property, correct?
It's pretty close to the property line.
And was in the right of way of the street, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, I believe the road was built over everybody's driveway at one point. Yeah, so no one has driveways anymore.
Okay, so your new garage is going to be entirely within the footprint of your property, correct?
Yep.
Okay, the engineer and planner for the board asked you to address, questions such as colors, finishes, and materials. Do you have anything to add about that?
The garage will have the same color as the main house and will be matching.
Okay, any other mechanical equipment outside, propane tanks, air conditioners, anything like that?
There are 3 propane tanks that don't get pushed back, I guess, to towards the back of the garage.
Okay, I think that's all I have at this time for Mr. Wisdom, unless the board or anybody has any questions.
Brief follow-up, the two-story nature of the garage, is there a lofted storage space or usable or habitable space?
Storage.
So it's your testimony, there'll be no human habitation in the garage?
Correct.
No, we're good.
Okay, I'd like to next call Mr. Graham.
So I've got up here, what I'll call a grading plan exhibit. It is dated, 6/17/2025, and the site plan that was submitted to the board, colored it up and overlaid on top of the photograph. So this is A5, I think.
Could you angle it, sir?
Thank you. So we're here today to discuss block 30501, lot 4, more commonly known as 307 Lakeside Boulevard. The property has frontage along Lakeside Boulevard to the northwest and Lake Apacon to the southeast. It's located in the R1 residential zone. The property is 8,800 square feet in area. Currently supports an existing single-family dwelling, a boathouse and dock, and there was a freestanding garage that was destroyed by a fallen tree. The property is undersized for the lot. And those nonconformities are minimum lot area required is 15,000 square feet. We have 8,800 square feet. The minimum lot width, 120 feet is required. We have 48.3 feet wide. Minimum side yard, 15 feet is required. The existing structure is 1.7 feet. Maximum building coverage, 20% is allowed. The site is currently at 27.3. Maximum lot coverage, 35% is allowed. The site is currently at 59.8%. Like, as I stated, the property abuts Lake Apacon. Lake Apacon is a water of the state. It is regulated by the state. There was a flood hazard area associated with the property, but none of our improvements or work that we're proposing is within the flood hazard area. There's also a 150-foot riparian buffer zone that comes out to a little, about 2/3 of the property from the lake. The proposed garage structure is outside of the riparian zone. There is some reconstruction of the walkways and some walls, but those are allowed under permit by rule with the state regulations. Again, the lot is undersized. There are a number of existing nonconformities outlined in the Van Cleef report. I can go through them if you want, but they're itemized in there. So, I read them into the record or just?
Yeah, I mean, you can read it.
Okay.
Sure.
So, maximum dock size, docks are allowed, maximum 5 feet wide. Or 10 feet with an exemption. Our proposed dock in the rear is 9 feet wide. There are no changes proposed to that dock. And minimum lot size, lot area. And again, 15,000 square feet is required. We're 8,800 square feet. Minimum lot width, minimum side yard. I think I went through those already. So the applicant is proposing to construct a new 2-car garage. It'll be 2 stories. The second story will be for storage. We have pushed the dwelling into the property. The existing structure was actually sticking out into the right of way. And we have set the face of the garage back 20 feet from the edge of the roadway to give us a place to allow for cars to pull off of the road and be parked perpendicular. So the relocation of the garage and the additional impervious coverage, pushing everything back to make it a safer and more conforming condition is what's creating some of the additional variances that we require. Because we are having the entire garage on our property, our building coverage requirement has gone up from 27.3% building coverage, or 20% is allowed. We're up to 30.1%, and our maximum lot coverage or impervious coverage was 59.8%, where 35% required, and now we're going to be at 62.3%. So the variances or exemptions that are associated with that, an accessory structure is not for human habitation. We have an existing boathouse that is rented out, so that's an existing non-conforming condition. The accessory structure setback, structures can't be within 15 feet of a side yard. We are 5 feet from the proposed sideline with our new structure. The total number of accessory structures, you're not allowed to have more than 2. We will have 3: the boathouse, the proposed garage, and there's an existing shed on the property that used to store lawnmowers, things of that ilk. Retaining walls can be no closer than 5 feet to a side yard. Again, the existing condition, there are retaining walls that run along both sides of the property. They're existing, and due to the narrowness of the property, it's less than half as wide as it's supposed to be for the zone. And those walls are existing. We're maybe reconstructing some of them, but they're going to be in the same place where they generally are. Maximum building coverage for non-conforming lots, again, we're 20% allowed, and we're going to be at 30.1%, and maximum lot coverage for non-conforming lots. Again, we're at 59.8%, and we're going to go up to 62.3%. The technical comments in the Van Cleef report, I believe that the boathouse use has been described. The engineer has asked that we provide some more spot elevations and ridge lines associated with the garage to illustrate how the property will drain. The roof line of the garage is going to run from left to right as you're looking at it. So the front half of the garage and the pavement area in front of the garage will drain out towards the road. The back half of the garage will drain towards the property, across the property, and ultimately to place that.
That'll suffice. Instead of playing with it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We will provide fall protection on any retaining walls that are greater than 4 feet in height. Testimony has been provided regarding the proposed building colors. Applicant to provide elevations and floor plans for the proposed 2-story garage. That will be required when we go for building permit, but this is I guess this would be A6.
Fine, I think.
A5 was only.
Okay, so
This is A6, give that to the secretary, and then if you want to share these amongst yourself, this is a cut sheet of a typical garage structure. And that's what the architecture of the garage will is expected to look like. The first floor is going to be for the parking of cars, and the second floor again would just be for storage space. Regarding soil removal and redistribution of any earthwork, we are proposing to construct a couple of walls to level out the sloping area in the back, creating some tiers. It's not anticipated that there will be a large amount of material brought into the property, but any material that is brought in will absolutely comply with the NJDEP residential standards. We cannot bring in any dirty dirt onto the property. The last comment, 5.7, is that he suggests that an as-built plan be provided upon completion to ensure that construction was done in accordance with any approvals that we might get, and we agree to that as a condition of the approval. And then outside agency approvals. Again, all the work that we're doing is allowed under the DEP permit by rule permits that they have, and we can demonstrate that for the engineer to his satisfaction. Our proposed disturbance is less than 5,000 square feet, so we don't need a soil erosion and sediment control permit, but we have included some soil erosion and sediment control measures because during construction, it's important to protect the lake. So silt fence will be provided in the appropriate location. While we don't need the formal permit, we're still going to do those things during construction. That's the balance of his report. I think I've addressed everything that I have to say. If I haven't answered a question, I'd be happy to try to do so.
So presently, there are 0 off-street parking spaces,
Right now, there are none.
and you're proposing 6.
6, 2 within the garage and surface 4.
Okay. All on site.
Well, no, so
Partially.
the garage structure itself is fully on site. The parking spaces themselves will be on the edge of the traveled way to the front of the garage.
Perpendicular. Okay.
Perpendicular, yeah,
Close enough.
better than what's there today.
Absolutely. Okay. Any questions of the,
Yeah, I guess, separate from the report that you went over, the Lake Apacom Commission also made a particular note out of calling out the increase to 32.3% in their report.
Yep.
And they just wanted to, I guess, bring up, or at least you addressed many of the issues in the prior report, but impervious or the
So,
pavers.
It's funny, we were asking, earlier we met today, and we had asked if the Lake Passion Commission report come out. We haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
Came out-
Literally just came out.
Yeah, it just
So,
came out.
Um,
I'm reading it from my phone.
Yes, literally.
Yeah, another.
No, but I mean, you
So
will.
this building was halfway in the road. So
Oh,
when.
believe me, I was there. I know what the problem is you're trying to
Count
solve.
the whole building area in the existing
Yeah.
impervious coverages. We only counted what was within our property from the right of way in.
Yeah.
So now that we moved the building all the way onto our property, we add that and we have this additional small area of pavement. That's the difference in impervious coverage from what was there to what we have
Right.
today. It's really just to make the building more conforming. And I think that while the percentage sounds high, couple of percent, this lot is very small. It's only 8,800 square feet. So a couple of percentage points is really not a very big
Okay,
area.
I just, of all the things that they could mention, they probably spent the most amount of ink on that point.
As is their typical
Yeah.
report.
I guess the second thing, and really, Steve couldn't be here as the fire expert. But I guess one concern could be with the height of the garage, although everybody is dealt the geography that they're dealt with, at least from the road, there's a line of sight, God forbid, knock on wood, that a house is on fire, you could at least get an early warning. With the larger and higher structure, is there any fire risk by not being able to fully see the
So
property
The
below it?
proposed garage is not any wider than the garage structure that was there,
Yeah.
right? It was a two-car garage. This is gonna be a 2-car garage.
Yeah.
Granted, it is higher, but it,
And further back.
and further back, but the line of sight from the road through, you can see the lake as you drive by, so.
It's not so much the lake, it's the house.
There's many properties on the lake.
Yeah,
that
there-
have this existing
and-
condition.
Is your issue that the garage would obstruct?
Just, an observation of the main house.
Well,
If
you
it's-
see smoke,
Okay.
smoke would go up above the roof line, so.
Okay, I'm not,
I don't think that, the two-story garage is a fire hazard.
not as a fire hazard, does it obstruct the view of the property in case
Certainly,
there's
it
need
would
for
depend
emergency?
on where you were and where your point of view was. If you were right up close to the garage, you couldn't see over.
Does it make it more obstructive?
Again, it depends where you're looking from. Some points of view, yes, it would be more obstructive, but there are other points along the roadway where you can see between the existing stripe, you can see the house, so.
Okay.
Can you give an approximation? I see there's a garage on each neighboring property. Can you tell us approximately how far the distance is between the garages?
Between.
Yeah,
their
like
garage and our
the
garage,
open area of sight is my question. If you can scale that or if that's possible to tell.
This plan is 1 inch equals 10 feet, so.
Here's a ruler.
10, 20, 30, about 35 feet to the one.
So the garage to the north,
Garage to the
property
north is approximately 32 feet, and the garage to the south is about 25 feet. Point between.
So all your development, anything you're doing is in the upper third of the
Upper
property.
third, well, we are reconstructing the walkway. I don't know if anybody visited the site and went down there, but the walkway's not too level.
So they're basically same size, same location. nothing
Yes, yep,
changed.
just trying to flatten things out a little bit, make it more walkable.
Yeah. User friendly.
Yeah,
You're improving the accessibility for the
Right.
entirety of the lot,
that's
which
correct.
also improve fire response.
Fire, yes, that's correct.
And you're also removing it from the roadway where it was onto the roadway part.
Yeah, yes.
All right, any other questions of the engineer? All right, seeing none, thank you.
that's all we have for our
That's it.
presentation for now.
No questions in the applicant at this point? Okay, at this point, I'll open the application to the public. Does anybody from the public wish to comment? Come forward, man.
You raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
And your name, please.
Kareem Teresa Rochelle,
Or your name, last name?
Rochelle.
Okay. And you reside in the vicinity of the property?
Yes, I do.
And where do you reside?
I reside at 265 Lakeside. And my property, for which I received the notice, is at 302. It's directly across the street from 307. It's 7 acres of New Jersey woodlands
Okay, that's the
Got
mountain
it.
across the street.
across the street
Okay,
from 307, which is why I got the notice.
yep.
Okay, so what I would like to do is read my statement, which I wrote down because it'll be just so much easier. And I have some extensions of my remarks here if anybody wants them. I have screenshots of the Airbnb listing. I have screenshots of the house when it was being sold and things like that if anybody wants them. Okay. I am the owner of 302 Lakeside Boulevard and received the notice of the hearing of the application for 13 variances for 307 Lakeside, formerly known to many in the community as Marty Kane's family home. My property is a non-lakefront, undeveloped 7-acre lot directly across the street from 307. My husband and I have lived at 265 Lakeside on the lakefront side since 1991, adjacent to my Woodlands lot and several houses from 307. My husband and I purchased 302 Lakeside from the borough in 2014 to preserve it as woodlands, and it is designated New Jersey Woodlands. We are a hard no to the 13 variances sought by the owners of 307 for the reasons I'm about to describe. 307 Lakeside may be in violation of at least 5 sections of the borough's short-term rental ordinance. If the owners of 307 are in violation of the borough's ordinance, they should not be receiving variances from the Land Use Board. These ordinance violations depress the value of every home within earshot of the lake. They do not improve values of Hopatcong lakefront properties. Real estate records state that the home was purchased by the current owners in January 2022. And the listing stated that the house had an oversized one-car garage. My understanding from today's testimony is that the owners are asking for a 4-car pad on top of the 2-car garage, which is substantially more than the original garage. 307 is a borough licensed year-round Airbnb advertised separately as 2 rentals, main house and boathouse, for 12 guests. 2024 Airbnb reviews show rentals for all 12 months. 307's Airbnb reviews also show 190 reviews since it became an Airbnb in 2022, mid-2022. The Airbnb listings state that the owner resides in New York City. The borough short-term rental ordinance requires several things. 1, that the property be the owner's principal residence. 2, the owner live on premises during rentals. 3, the location, quote, the location of all parking shall include on-street public parking spaces directly adjacent to the premises. Parking requirements shall be that all spaces must be located on the property. 4, the rental be, quote, not more than 2 bedrooms within a single family residence, end quote. 5, the short-term rental use be for, quote, up to the cumulative total period not to exceed 120 days in 1 calendar year. Airbnb calendars and reviews show the 2 listings are rented as a total of 5 bedrooms, not 2, 12 months a year, frequently rented concurrently, leaving the owners nowhere to reside on the property. Hopatcong Borough records show that the owner's address being in Brooklyn. Airbnb's listing states the owner resides in New York City. The number of Airbnb reviews, 190 in less than 3 years, and their calendars indicate it is unlikely that 307 is rented for less than the 120-day ceiling. With regards to the parking ordinance, 307's busy Airbnb business causes severe parking shortages for full-time residents. 307 barely has room for 1 small car parked parallel to the street. There is no adjacent parking. There is no street parking across the street. The Airbnb listing posts a photograph of the parking area at the bottom of my 7-acre lot, encouraging their guests to use those spaces, which over the years have been used by full-time residents. This street parking area is not adjacent to, it's not across the street from 307. It is down the road, and it is a place where full-time residents have parked for many years. There are approximately 9 houses that use the space, and it accommodates 10 cars. Making a fair assumption of at least 6 cars per booking, that would be 5 cars that are now trying to park in that space. Parking has always been a problem in Old Lakeside Boulevard. To further exacerbate lack of parking, the house next door, 309, is an Airbnb advertised for 12 guests. Mr. Bill Donegan tells me that 309 is operating without a license. 309 barely has adjacent parking for 1 small car. Now I'm going to talk about the fights. Last summer at my Woodlands lot, I witnessed a fight between full-time residents and Airbnb transient guests over 2 parking spots. Police have been called multiple times for parking incidents as recently as this weekend. Police were, for example, were called when a 307 Airbnb transient guest threw a liquor bottle at a full-time resident of Old Lakeside Boulevard. The owners of 307 Lakeside do not suffer the consequences of living near their own busy Airbnb business. It is the residents of Old Lakeside Boulevard who live with the consequences. Approving 13 variances will strengthen their Airbnb business. However, while fortifying their Airbnb business, it will remove necessary parking. It will bring more garbage to our picturesque road and noise to our neighborhood. 307's garbage cans continually overflow for days every week with garbage strewn along Lakeside Boulevard. There is excessive noise from 307, loud yelling and screaming for hours coming from the boathouse and the dock. I live 6 houses away and I hear it. In conclusion, variances that enhance an owner's ability to violate ordinances should not be granted. The borough needs to have a holistic review of everything concerning this property before making a decision on variances. This is a multi-agency problem involving the zoning office, the borough administrator, the land use board, borough regs, enforcement of ordinances, the police, and the borough attorney. If 307 is operating in violation of multiple sections of the borough short-term rental ordinance, my husband and I do not believe the owners are entitled to variances until and unless their business operations are brought into compliance with the ordinance. Thank you. As an aside, I recognize that the borough municipal offices are understaffed for a lot of work. And may I make a recommendation? Create an internship for a high school student to go into the Airbnb platform and figure out which Airbnbs in Hopatcong are operating illegally or not following the ordinance. For example, there are 44 short-term rentals on Airbnb in Hopatcong. Do we have 44 licenses? That would be, thank you, Bill. We have 44 Airbnbs. Mr. Donegan just said we do not have 44 licenses. It's not that hard. It's very simple. For a high school kid could do it. I would be happy to help train the student on how to navigate the short-term rental platforms and the ordinance and putting it all together to figure out who is operating illegally and who is not following the ordinances. Thank you.
So you have an assistant that handles that, don't you? Dawn, she does none of that?
Not really, no.
I know I have other neighbors who also want to speak.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Bill,
Any-
can I ask her a question?
Sure.
Ma'am?
Excuse me.
Ma'am,
Can he ask you a question?
Can you tell me how many calls for service from the police department were in 2024, 2023?
I don't know the exact number, no.
So.
I know people who have called the police on the block.
Okay, so we don't know how many calls for service for a complaint has been at that.
Oh, I
location.
don't know. No,
Right.
that isn't something that I would know. I do know that neighbors have told me as recently as this weekend, the police were called.
I understand, it's hearsay, but. thank
Maybe
you.
the person who called can come and speak.
You can Oprah that information, just to let you know, through the police department.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, just a point of procedure. I just would reserve the right to respond to all public comment at the end rather than piecemeal, if that's
Sure.
okay.
All right, anyone else from the public wish to comment on this application?
I just wanted to,
Hold on.
Please, we have to.
oh, sorry.
Please raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
And your name, please?
Sarah Geary,
Spell your last name?
Geary,
Tara? Did you say?
Sarah, Sara,
Sarah. Where do you live?
315 Lakeside.
Would you like to tell the board?
No, I just wanted to, in support of what the story that was just told, I'm actually the one who has called the police. I am the one who had a liquor bottle thrown at me from one of the drunk neighbors, not at their home, but at Joe's at 309 last summer. And this past weekend, I was yelled at by their Airbnb guest because I asked them to move their car that was parked on our property. So just in support of that, I am the one who has been calling the police, so.
Does that happen more than one time? that you
I have
to
not called the
request?
police, just,
No.
but yeah,
Have
it
you-
is a weekly occurrence for me to have to go up, clean the parking area, pay my daughter half the time to do it. There are multiple times that we have an approved tenant that's year round in our home. the apartment behind our house, he cannot find parking. We have guests that can't find parking, but I mean, literally, it's a weekly occurrence that we do have to clean up the mess that's left in the parking area. But just wanted to support that. It wasn't made up. I actually am the one who called.
Okay, thank you.
So that's not hearsay anymore?
No.
First person. Okay.
Anyone else from the public wish to comment?
Just a little correction. I do have assistant.
Okay,
It does help me,
okay,
but we're not set up to actually just.
Okay. well, maybe it's something we're gonna have to look at too. The enforcement portion of it. Okay, good.
You swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
And your name, sir?
Anthony Scandariato.
Spell that.
Scandariato,
Where do you live?
305 Lakeside Boulevard,
You're right next door.
right next door.
Go ahead.
So I'm gonna make a general comment and a specific comment. The general comment, I'm just reinforcing the issue of whether it be Airbnb or other items. Parking is an issue. I've been there for 8 years. There are consistent fights about parking. I can only tell you, the liability of the town is tremendous, because it's only gonna happen once, and one time, you're gonna be sued because of not addressing the traffic patterns there, the amount of parking that is available to the actual residents that reside there. Just putting it on notice that it will happen. I've been confronted a couple of times. I did not call the cops. I tried to deal with it myself. You have to be pragmatic about what's going on. I don't begrudge having a business. But it impacts me from time to time. But there are many more people there. And it's just not the people that are there. And again, I'm not be part of this meeting, but there's still trailers hanging out over there, shouldn't be there. There's RVs that are hanging out there for months and months. They're using up the spaces that the residents should be using. And no one's addressing it. So that's my general comment. Specific comment is, if construction commences, how would you handle the traffic patterns? I'm right next door. There's a blind spot. It goes on the curve to 307. I could just barely get out without getting hit by somebody coming across. I will have no visibility if there's gonna be trucks, machinery, and so forth while the construction gets there. So I just want to know what are some of the solutions to fix that?
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, are you gonna have, is there gonna be a cop there to? I mean,
When we had the garage removed, we had the dumpster put there, we had to get a permit for a police officer to direct traffic. It was $200 a day, so in that neighborhood.
So is that gonna be part of construction? I mean, I like to have
I
that
don't know.
because like, there's no way I could
It's
get out.
problematic. I mean, I would, in your own interest, I would have somebody there directing traffic or, listen, that's a tough stretch of road right there, a couple hundred yards. There's no parking for anybody. I mean, if you got a garage where you can put your car in the garage, you're lucky. I mean, he's proposing 6 off-street
I didn't-
parking
that's
things
not
now
my
with
comment.
none.
That's
So,
like, I'm not,
I'm not, I know.
I'm saying I'm making a general comment. If there's more people that are actually visiting Lake Hopatcong.
Yeah.
But because of that, making it more difficult for the permanent residents to park. I have to tell my family when they come over to go pack up at Hopatcong, up in the parking area where the school is. It's ridiculous. I mean, the impression is this has got, so why are you even living here? You can't even be near your home, when we visit. It's just ridiculous.
Well, I can say probably when those homes were built, there was very little. I mean, it's a problem that's grown for sure, but.
Right, but no one's addressing it.
Well,
You could say whatever you want, but you're not addressing the issues on Lakeside Boulevard. It is a problem. And all I can say is it will be at some point in time, it will be escalated because either someone is gonna be fighting with someone, and it'll be more serious than just a yelling match. My car got totaled up there. Okay. And the car was just parked up there. Someone just totaled it. You know, so
I mean, we're here tonight to address this application only. I mean, I get it.
I
It's a
just,
big
I just said I made a
parking problem.
general comment for parking. Okay, but the specific question I have is addressing this, the DOT issue of traffic.
That's not for this board. I think that's the mayor and council. You have to bring it up with them. I mean, we deal specifically with this application in front of us. Right now, he has no parking. He's proposing 6 parking. So is that not a better scenario than what's there now?
That's not the question I would.
Well, I don't know, then you're asking the wrong people. We're not, I don't control Lakeside Boulevard. You'll have to go to the mayor and council and bring that issue up with them.
Well, I'm just
But
reinforcing
on
the,
that point, I guess the retort would be, if those 6 parking spaces were for the benefit of a business or for the benefit of someone's use as the primary homeowner, the impression I got from the discussion so far, and it may have been my misunderstanding, but there was this impression of an occasional use of the boathouse only. So a question for later on, but sure, I would say if I asked as someone who at least lives in the house for more parking spaces versus, hey, I'm not even going to live there, but I want a bunch of people to park there, okay? I think it's a little bit different tone.
Well, when I come there, I cannot get out of the car. I'm gonna get killed getting out of the car, so I live there. I come here, right? So I need parking.
I mean, I can understand with the parking, but we don't control that. I mean, we look at this is the only thing we're focused on today. And right now he has 0 off-street. He's proposing 6. So in my eyes, that's a pretty
Okay.
good situation. I mean, would you like to have 6 off-street parking in your, I mean, that would be nice for everybody, but it's not what it is
Right.
here.
I'm not addressing the construction,
Okay.
as I just mentioned. My issue is safety.
Okay.
When someone gets hit, we'll say, oh, well, right? Because you're not there, I'm there.
I don't know, Bill, I mean, that's not
Well,
an issue for the board here.
If this is a properly registered, when I say properly, I'll get into that a little bit. Registered, short-term rental property, you know, it's regulated, highly regulated
Absolutely.
in PACCON. There's a lot of conditions and some of those have already been discussed. And we can't police that. We're not a policing board. We don't have enforcement powers. You know, it can be monitored. Hopefully it is monitored. And if those conditions are not observed, there's sanctions and penalties in our ordinance, in our registration ordinance. Again, that's not for this board to determine, not for us to review. What the applicant is seeking is variance approval. It's classified as an intensification of the non-conforming use. The non-conforming use was certified through a prior approval, 1 apartment in the boathouse. My impression through the discussion here is that the main house is also used for short-term rental. The owner is supposed to reside there. There are specific time limitations. And if they're not observed, there are sanctions. And in fact, I think if I recall right, I've looked in a while, if you have a certain number of violations, you lose the right to
They gotta
continue
vote
your
here.
operation.
So the question, I guess, in my mind is, when people present an expansion of their homes, should it be under the requirement that they're pretty clean? Or if I can come here and say, you know, my meth lab really needs a lot more parking space and it meets all the requirements. I'm not saying, but you know what I mean? I mean, if I come in with those kind of situations, you say, yeah, you could have extra space.
Well, is it extra space? You know, we're characterizing it as an expansion. There's no more bedrooms, from what I understand. There's no more occupancy expansion of the footprint, anything like that, that would lead to an increase in use. You could say, well, the parking spaces will lead to increase in use, but they were supposed to have those parking spaces anyway under the short-term rental ordinance. So it is not an expansion in the sense of increasing the capacity of the operation.
So if it did not meet those requirements, do they have to be resolved before a
No,
decision is
No,
made?
no, I,
So the use that's an existing nonconformity is a single family dwelling with an accessory dwelling unit in the boathouse. Short-term rentals are not a land use matter for this board. They're subject to a different section of your code that is not under this board's discussion and jurisdiction. So what's in front of you is a D variance for an expansion of an existing non-conforming use. The intensification is the improvement of a new garage with more of that footprint on the property with the impervious coverage, the increase of that coverage, that new construction to replace the old is the intensification of the total lot, which has this existing nonconformity. That's the nature of the application filed to you and what we're here to discuss. The other matters are in separate jurisdictions with the municipality.
I think that sums it up. I'd like to just say, I speak in favor of the request for the variance, because I don't think any past practices we've ever done, we've attached a requirement to obligate one to be in compliance with the rules associated with Airbnb. And I don't think we want to set that far.
Now,
Well, let me ask you this, Joe, I mean,
before you, one other point of that would be any decision made by the board is with relation and clearly understood by the applicant as relating to the existing non-conforming use that they have certification of and intensifying that use. There are, just like there are in the other sections of the code, recourse for short-term rentals if not complied with. There is recourse for the use of the property not being demonstrated to be a single-family use with an accessory dwelling unit. Again, with our code enforcement. So
Would the decision be
So the-
linked so that the decision requires the approvals to be based on the understanding of single-family house with one accessory structure? And
correct.
if it's not,
Then that's an enforcement issue. It does not make the board complicit in any actions by the applicant that deviate from the understanding of that approval.
let me ask you this, as the borough engineer and planner. Does the positive criteria outweigh the negative, or does the negative outweigh the positive on this application?
Much of the positions expressed regarding positive and negative criteria are immaterial to the application in front of you. So what we need to do is understand where the appropriate boxes that we're reviewing the application in. And there are tangential items on the property that are not within our jurisdiction of this application. So said another way, the property has a right to operate single-family dwelling with an accessory dwelling unit for rental. And if the applicant is seeking to increase that intensity, that's what's in front of us, not the way that they use it for any other purpose. Those are enforcement matters in two separate sections of our code. The use of the property is not the use as this board has previously granted approvals or is now reinforcing with a D variance, or separately, the matter of short-term rentals.
okay, I know we have a question in the back, but I guess my question is, do we understand what's in front of us, if what's in front of us is different
So
than what's actually?
Yeah, I mean, so from the positive and negative criteria, looking at the improvements to the property that are proposed, we're talking about the increase of available parking to the facility, which includes 2 dwelling units, the principal structure and the boathouse. The detriments being perhaps line of sight, intensification of impervious. Those are a balancing act for testimony of the applicant first prior to my opinion of them respectfully.
Line of sight is gonna be totally better than what you have now. I mean, right now you have nothing.
Right, you have the line of sight down the roadway, going into the bend, setting back the structure. There is a balancing to this proposed improvement that I believe can be justified within the realm of understanding that it is for a single family dwelling and an accessory dwelling unit. It has nothing to do with the short-term rental. What's on your plate today?
Yeah, I mean,
Or that may be for some to understand.
what we're looking at is it's a single family home with an additional, you know,
Yes.
that's how
That's
it's
the use of the
operated, really
property.
is not,
Right,
we can't
and
control
so
that, correct,
you
Bill?
would look.
Well, yeah, no, you know, we are not an enforcement entity. If there's non-compliance with the short-term rental ordinance, then that's for another forum. The positive obviously is our planner engineer indicated is you're taking a garage that's encroaching and you're moving that in and you're providing some parking spaces. Negative, is there an well, there's effective stormwater, there's more impervious on the site. But they're trying to address that, and the intensification of the number of users doesn't seem to be affected, because I guess the users that were there before are just finding parking spaces in the neighborhood, much to the detriment of the neighbors, right?
I mean, 6 more cars that are off this other side of the street or in front of somebody else's houses in that little stretch of roadway is a good thing I mean, that's a tough section of road.
Significant improvement.
Yeah, that's an improvement in my eyes. I mean, I don't know how.
See, but taking into consideration of the neighbors. Does that have anything to do with us?
Yes. I think that has to be brought before zoning official, prosecutor, if it comes to that, in terms of
Because I think
violations
that's
of the
what.
short-term rental ordinance. If
Yeah.
there are, you know, it's a matter, do you reside there or not? You know,
Right.
where are you
that's
registered
what's-
to vote? Where,
That's
you know,
putting us in
It
that
just
position.
seems to me you're kind of shoehorning business traffic into a residential neighborhood.
That's
but the ordinance allows that.
That's not a.
That's the short-term
Yes.
rental ordinance. It permits that.
Unfortunately, that's not
Yeah, it's outside the land use.
not our place.
So that permission is outside our land use
Right.
code, which is our jurisdiction.
Right.
So
And correct me if I'm wrong, what we're voting on is the variance for this garage.
That's it.
And the
Well,
walls.
And
you're voting on the intensification of the site as a whole because of the D variance. The existing non-conforming use of the property, having the 2 units on the property, that is increasing intensification because of the increased footprint of impervious coverage. It's like Phil said, the number of bedrooms is not changing, right? The number of units is not changing. But the site overall is intensifying in development, so it does characterize as a D variance.
but to utilize the non-compliance for something else, to deny a variance for the garage.
Correct, is outside the box of our
What we
jurisdiction
should
of
be
this
talking.
conversation.
Right.
It's not part of what would be a
Consideration.
a consideration for
Thank
the
you.
board.
Okay,
So that would have to be brought somewhere else.
Right.
And
Yeah,
that's what
and
they.
another way to say it would be if there was action taken on the operation of a short-term B and B already, and that there were consequences and enforcement of that prior to coming here tonight. There's still the separate matter of what's in front of you as this application that could be acted on with or without the other proceeding.
So,
I don't think what he does with the property, how he operates, I mean, he could say, I'm gonna live there, I'm gonna move in tomorrow, I'm gonna stay, and then it really, we wouldn't even be having this discussion right now.
Or you
It's-
could have
it's-
longer term rental and we wouldn't be having the
Yeah.
discussion.
But
I mean, the issue for us is it gonna make the site better? Or is it gonna make it worse? Is it gonna exacerbate the situation? Or that's what we're here to do. I mean, I get it. Nobody wants an Airbnb next door to them, but you know, there's really not much we can do about it.
Well, other parts of the town can, right? Rezoning. I know you've placed fines for people who are out of compliance.
Yes, I am.
I don't approve the short-term rental permits. I don't get them. My only involvement is doing the certification of zoning for, you know, the boathouse, the shed, those kinds of things.
so.
But who monitors the compliance.
And it was originally set up because once it was in practice, it was gonna be police, but it hasn't worked out that way. It's. The zoning is the only entity so far that's, fields any of the complaints and issues any violations.
So I think what we need to do is allow the neighbors and the other residents that have concerns, or give them the direction to go and address the concerns that they have, because this isn't the proper area to address that.
Right.
So.
Yeah, we're here strictly for the application for the two-car garage and the the 6 off-street parking. I mean, the Airbnb thing is something that we don't, it's not our,
Out of our.
no, it's not
Not
our, it's not our place to.
What's in front of you is, it's
So,
improvement of
simple
a
application.
detached garage on a single family dwelling with an accessory apartment.
so
on the property.
I guess I know you've been asking, so I'm not gonna say anything.
We have a question.
All right, do we have anybody else from the public?
Yeah.
Okay,
No, I'd like to address one thing. My name is William Strauss.
Do you swear the testimony about the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
I think it's great to get some more parking spaces there, but to give the opportunity for a second floor for some other purposes would probably be not a good idea, based upon whatever they're doing, but don't really care about that. And the second floor wasn't there in the begin with, so the original structure, even though it's gonna be replaced with a rather larger structure, I'm 100% for, but they should not have a second floor.
well, when the applicant gets up here again, I'll say, listen, can you do without the storage space above the garage? Would you scale that back to just to,
If I have to.
okay?
I'm sorry, what was your specific objection to the second floor on the structure?
Not only just the site, because it is on that corner, I do live down the street. And as well as just giving an opportunity to someone who already does some things which are probably not legit.
Well,
I don't think it was.
Sorry.
Well, we have a permit.
If you saw the pictures of the garage, I mean, it's not a full, it's just a little dormer up there, like a little, I mean, but, it's a concern and we'll have to.
Is your
address it.
concern, I'm sorry,
Go ahead, Andy.
There's no plumbing,
Okay,
so there's nothing.
is your concern that there's a site obstruction to view the lake? Is that your issue?
Well, it's her property, 7 acres above that.
Well, you were the one up at the stand, sir. You
Yeah,
made a
It
comment.
was one of my concerns, but it wasn't about, I don't believe I have that much of a concern for that. I had more of a concern of.
Potential to be-
Uses.
potentially to be another
Rent out.
Okay,
Additional
step
dwelling unit.
forward.
You don't need to swear in again.
You're reminded they're still under oath.
With all due respect, I believe, my husband believes, the reason the owners of 307 are asking for these variances is to build and strengthen their Airbnb business. Just this weekend, there were between 20 and 30 people renting the main house, and there was a separate booking, I believe, in the boathouse, 2 rentals. One of them had 20 to 30 people.
You just put numbers out there, geez.
They have 190 reviews since they started their business in July of 2022. That's a lot of reviews for people who supposedly live there. And that's
3 years.
my point.
Excuse me.
3 years.
Ma'am, my recommendation to you is if you believe there is an abuse, document it and then bring it forward.
To the police, I thought that the zoning office
It's
was enforcement, but I just heard you say something.
No, it's right now, it's only gonna be.
Okay, because the ordinance does say that the borough has the right to terminate the license.
This is not time to discuss
Okay.
it. You're absolutely correct
Okay.
but ultimately.
And I would be willing to help you, Bill,
I know.
in figuring out where the violations are all over the borough.
Because the scenario is that, yes, we have to document what the issue
Okay.
is, and we have to give people the
What is damaging
warning to correct.
the values of Lake Hopatcong, of the Hopatcong Borough
Understood.
properties?
The enforcement has to be done in a certain way.
Okay.
But absolutely.
Okay.
We have to go home.
We have to vote on the credits of it.
Yeah, not on the garage. Yeah, we work on it.
That's all we'll allow to vote on.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else from the public wish to comment on this application? Seeing none, I'll close it to the public, bring it back to the board. Hey, Dan, do you have any closing?
I was gonna comment in some detail on the testimony or commentary offered by the public, but I believe your attorney and your planner addressed most of my concerns, which is to basically orient the discussion to what's in front of the board and the idea of I appreciate the idea of the Airbnb question. It's a universal question, not only in this town, but a lot of towns. Everywhere, it's a question, and there is a separate enforcement mechanism, as was noted, to address those concerns.
So
And-
I guess the question would be as the representing client with Airbnb business, are they in compliance with the town's requirements?
As Mr.
That's not our-
As he testified to, he's got the licenses, he's gotten 4 of them, and there is a mechanism to not only apply for them in your ordinance, but there's also mechanisms for enforcement.
We're not the enforcement.
So, and again, as was stated by your planner and your attorney, you know, while I appreciate the concerns and the public's, testimony, I don't know that they're germane to the issue that is precise issue that's in front of the board and it needs to be discussed in terms of the positive criteria and the negative criteria, or just like the positive generally. As Mr. Graham testified, yes, we're gonna be a little more non-conforming with some of these technical requirements such as impervious coverage and so forth, but that's totally because of the need to move the garage back away from the street. And it's a benefits detriments thing. Is the overall situation improved by putting the garage where we propose it and having the parking on site? I mean, we're trying to relieve some of the concerns in the neighborhood. As opposed to the detriment or the harm to the public good because we have a little bit more impervious coverage or, some other issues are in play here with needed variances. So I guess overall, we believe that putting the garage where it is and setting it back from the street, that overall, that presents the best picture that we can come up with.
Okay, so your client willing to downsize that garage to just make it a gable roof, no storage up above, no windows up top? Okay. So. Okay, you
I
done?
think that's all I have.
Okay, very good. All right, I'll bring it back to the board and wait for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the variances request.
Okay, this requires 5 yes votes out of 7 eligible votes.
Remember, we're just voting on the application. The Airbnb thing has nothing to do with us. So you're taking a bad situation and making it better. You have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Sherwood,
Well, with the understanding, I'm not voting for an Airbnb or anything, just the garage itself being improved and rebuilt, I'm gonna say yes.
Mr. Diamond,
I agree. I believe it'll be an improvement over what's there now by recessing the building from the roadway and adding more parking to improve the situation. My vote is yes.
Mr. Kennedy,
No.
Ms. Crock.
Present.
What was the vote?
No, vote yes or no. I know you're.
You abstaining, Jim?
Okay. Mr. Mezzalewski?
Okay, my vote is because I feel the modifications will lead to an intensification of potentially dangerous outcomes. I'm voting no.
Chairman Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
We had 8 votes. Was there an alternate in there?
There were 2 alternates in there.
Because of the D
The
variance.
deed, because they were
We have 7 eligible votes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, so 5 yeses.
5 yeses. Was Judy said abstain or?
She abstained.
Okay, so there's 5 yeses,
2 no.
2 no's,
One
and 1
abstain.
abstain.
Correct.
Okay, there's an extra vote in there.
Yeah, because I put 2 of them in thinking because 2 left.
Who voted?
All right, I'll change my
Sherwood
vote.
yes. Said yes.
All right, Judy changed her vote to yes. Does that help us?
It doesn't.
But
Well, we have 8 votes and only 7 people can vote.
Yeah. Let's figure out the 7 eligible.
he said with
Seven.
only
So,
third.
It's
with
one
three.
of the 8 is
So
not,
Mr. Rossi shouldn't have voted?
if he's
One
the
of the
second
alternates.
alternate,
He would be the second alternate, yes.
and he voted how?
He voted yes.
So,
I'm sorry.
if we knock out one of the yes votes, then you got 4 yes.
Well, Judy
Two
changed,
noes.
Judy changed her vote. Oh, yes.
Okay.
You want to read it?
Yeah.
Then they walk right back.
Why don't we count the votes again? Let's make sure.
And then-
Second all.
Poll, okay?
You said in.
Okay,
I made the motion, is that an issue?
Yeah, it is.
So I made the actual motion.
Yeah.
So
Let's poll again. Somebody make a motion, somebody second. And do not count.
We need a motion
I'd like to make a motion
to approve.
to approve the variance.
We have a second.
I'll second.
Motion in a second.
Okay, so now here, Mr. Sherla,
Again, I feel it's proper to vote yes for the improvement of the boathouse, nothing to do with the Airbnb.
The garage, you mean?
The garage, the car.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Mr. Cadman,
No.
Ms. Crock,
Okey dokey.
Mr. Metzalowski,
No, for the reasons previously stated.
Chairman Wright,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
It carries.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I thought.
We have a waiver of memorialization to start construction.
Would you like to ask for waiver of memorialization?
I would like to.
Do we have a motion to grant waiver of the memorialization?
Hold on.
Yeah, I don't know that we can't do it. on
No,
the
You're right.
deed.
I don't know.
All right.
Just be
I
quiet.
don't know that you can't do it on the deed.
before they voted on it, I just.
I think you can, it's still at the applicant's risk. I think so.
All right, let's move ahead. Do we have a motion to waive the memorialization?
No, you. What do we want to do?
Just waive the memorialization.
It's
Make a
pro forma.
We have a motion.
Second.
Mr. Sherla,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Mr. Cadman,
No.
Ms. Crock,
Yeah.
Mr. Metzalowski,
No.
Chairman Wright,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, they- Yeah, we have to. So we've got to come back in here.
No, but listen, it should be.
Okay, and next application is Adro Redzik, block 30501, lot 43 and 45, Circle Point Road.
Good evening, Chris Colabella on behalf of the applicant. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is an application essentially for a lot line adjustment. Mr. Carriego put the plan up on the board and just have, Mr. Redzik and Mr. Carriego sworn in. This application should not be as complicated as the last.
Better not be.
I'm gonna hold it to that.
Got a public hearing to hold tonight.
Are you the only one that's gonna be giving testimony, you and Jeff?
Jeff and Mr. Redzik.
Okay.
You swear the testimony about, you know, the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
And your name, sir,
Hydro Redzik.
and you're a property owner?
Yes, I am.
Mr. Carriego, you're a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey, your license is current.
Engineering.
Engineer, sorry, engineer in the state of New Jersey.
He had thought to be an architect at one time.
I did, yeah.
We still have time.
And your license is
That's right.
based on, my license is before this board.
That's okay, so this one's.
With regard to the plan, if you just take a look at the plan, I wanted everyone to just take notice, of this Lakeside Boulevard here and this pathway here leading down to the property and take a look at, the Rubenstein property next door that doesn't have direct access to Lakeside Boulevard, but for this easement. So that's important to the application because, Mr. Redzik is gonna testify, with respect to the reasoning behind the lot line adjustment. So,
Folks, could you keep it down on the back, please?
Take it outside.
Ladies, gentlemen.
So Chris, what this is, this is just a lot line, so you're taking a piece and adding it to that's it.
That's it. And
No subdivision to create anything. other than-
no,
Okay.
no, and we have Mr. Rubenstein's here as well. These are neighbors who are friendly. And Mr. Reddick does not use that portion of the property. Mr. Rubenstein has an issue with this road. It's like a black diamond. I don't know if you've ever been down the driveway that's there now. His hope was to at some point create a safer passage to his home from Lakeside Boulevard.
So the piece that's getting chopped off, the remaining piece will still be more than 15,000 square feet, correct?
Yeah, Mr. Kerry, I guess.
Okay, no, right, Jeff.
So if I could, you want to just go into that, Jeff, you might as well.
Sure.
But
So basically the two lots, so lot 43 on the bottom, lot 45 on the top. So lot 43, existing. You can look at the chart, we have 37,326 square feet. And with the proposed lot line adjustment, it's 22,194. So
you still have it.
yes, 50% more than required. Lot 45 existing is 29,675 square feet, and it's proposed as 44,807 square feet. So both of these lots right now, as I have it all broken down, have essentially lot coverage variances. And the problem again is the driveway for lot 45. This old driveway that goes down to lot 43 is not necessary anymore because he's got a driveway off of Pickerel Point, which is nice and flat and easy. And again, like he mentioned Black Diamond, this is a very dangerous driveway.
Jeff, are you going to remove that? That you just,
No, he's gonna leave it for now, and again, I can't speak for Mr. Rubenstein, but there was some talk about bringing the driveway in off of Pickerel Point. And because of look how flat it is, the topo's right here, he's got his driveway right here in his parking areas. So he can essentially trade this coverage here for a new driveway and expand his parking areas a little bit to give him more parking because like.
with a new access easement
From Pickerel
from
Point.
Pickerel Point?
Well, it wouldn't
Well, he
be
would
an
own
access
that.
easement, this would then be.
Oh, that's his property. I'm
Yes.
sorry, yes,
His new
right.
property. And so again, if you look at all the coverage that's here for this driveway,
Right.
if he removes that, there'll be plenty of room to do expansion.
I mean, that old driveway, Bill, was made for a Model T. I mean, that's not for a modern car. That's how old that is.
That hasn't been in use for
Yeah, no, I would say it's pervious at this point. I mean, it's grass, it's,
And a trip hazard.
okay, good.
So and that's really it in a nutshell. We're not proposing anything at this point, just a lot line adjustment and that's all.
So nothing substandard is getting created. It's just this swaps.
That's
Pretty,
it.
pretty simple.
Very
A
simple.
win-win for everybody.
We think so.
Okay,
Win-win for the town as well.
all right.
We're gonna eliminate hopefully
Parking.
Yeah.
parking on Lakeside Boulevard. That's right.
All right, does anybody from the public wish to comment on this application?
He's
already sworn in,
He's off.
I'm one of his neighbors. I think this is the best thing that's gonna happen.
New application.
William L. Strauss, yes.
It's great testimony about you. but
Yes.
don't do nothing.
I think this is a positive thing. It's an absolute positive thing. I'm one of his adjacent neighbors. We're all for it.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else from the neighbor or anybody else wish to comment on this application? Seeing none, I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the board for motions. I'll make the motion.
second that.
That was easy.
Mr. Sherlin.
Yes.
Mr. Diamond.
Yes.
Mr. Kamic.
Yes.
Ms. Crock.
Yes.
Councilman Kuzic.
Yes.
Ms. Chairman Rice.
Yes.
Ms. Snell.
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
Mayor Galati. Yes.
Thank you.
Good. So
Thank
they'll
you very
prepare
much.
all the deeds and get them, whatever.
Yeah, we'll have to perfect it through the creation of the deed. And I'll work with Mr. Hagan.
We're gonna try to make up for that, maybe.
And I was hopeful that's that.
All right.
Didn't think of you first.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thanks.
No, that's okay. It's okay.
All right, we all set.
Yes, thank you.
Have a good night.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, next application is Richard Bronstein, block 50509, lot 1, 2 Oakdale Ave. Mr. Bronstein here?
Mr. Bronstein is here, yeah. Mr. Bronstein, come on. Is the one with-
Come on down.
Yeah. And the zoning is right.
Can you
Uh-oh.
notice what they are?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
I'm gonna give one to Amy.
This one's on. Good evening, Chris Colabella on behalf of Mr. Bronstein, and it's an application that's being made unfortunately as a result of Mr. Bronstein's builder knocking down some walls, which he needed to leave up. Mr. Donegan and I had extensive conversations about this. I tried to persuade him that, maybe we could put the walls up, we could hang them from a tree, but he was doing his job and of course said we had to come before the board, and that's what we're doing. We're coming before the board. There were multiple permits that were issued for this property. It's a pre-existing structure. The new structure, not new, it's some of it's old. It's being put on the same exact footprint. The footprint's not changing. There's already an approved septic system, and I'm gonna have Mr. Bronstein testify and also
Mr. Gates.
and yeah, Mr. Gates. So if I could have them sworn in, thank you. Yeah, Mr. Bronstein.
Please raise your right hand for the testimony you're about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Mr. Bronstein, your first name,
Richard.
and you're the property owner?
Yes.
Mr. Gates, you testified before this board many times, your license is fine.
Yes, I have it, yes, it is.
He wanted to be an engineer and
Not like going to school for a fifth year instead. Keep going.
Drainage.
you could have a seat. Okay, Mr. Gates, if you would be so kind as to explain to the board exactly what's going on here with this plan, what the long-term plan is. I would like you to start though, from the beginning with the permits and what the plan was before we had to come to the board.
All right.
Including the structure being left intact and the.
Correct.
This is an existing garage / house. The first work that we did, Mr. Bronstein, goes back to 2022. The septic system a new septic system was being installed. There was no real septic system before that. I asked Mr. Bronstein this morning, I said, was it a cesspool? He said, well, it wasn't really that good. So it was much to be desired right on the lake. So when I was first involved, civil engineering prepared a plan for a septic system. It was approved and was being constructed. Part of that requirement, because of ledge rock and by the lake, is that the system has to be raised a little bit. Because it's adjacent to the house, they needed the foundation wall to be repaired so that a foot of backfill could be pushed against it. So the first drawings we did were for the foundation repair, building permits that was directly coordinated with the septic system design. The second phase of work that was done, we submitted a zoning permit. The intention is for Mr. Bronstein to make this a legitimate dwelling. Some of the conversations that we had with Mr. Donegan, conversations and revisions addressed that one of the comments was, well, it was sort of a boarding house. It was part of the original, if I'm not mistaken, the original Lake Hopatcong Yacht Club 100 years or so ago. The Bronsteins have owned it for 100 years. They have drawings from 1942 with their names on it that they showed us as part of the work. So they've had it for generations. The idea was to get this building to meet code and be compliant through these various aspects. The starting point is always septic system. The septic system is approved for 2 bedrooms. There was one before. Apparently, when you do a new septic system, it has to be classified as 2 bedrooms. That's a state regulation. The zoning permit we submitted was to enclose the porch on the first floor, to keep the garage, enclose the porch. Yeah, there's a wraparound porch on the first floor, was to enclose this. Oh, let me back up. I apologize. The drawing that's here is the same drawings that you have, other than being colorized for conversation purposes.
You just marked
So
it as
I
A1,
marked that?
Bill, for purposes of evidence.
And that's the sheet A1 of your plan as well, right?
That is correct. And that will be revision 4/125 in the upper right corner. So back to the plans, the first floor plan. Again, the whole two-story structure is existing. The whole footprint of the building is not changing with the exception of getting a stairway on the right side. If you notice in the middle drawing, the second floor plan is really grade level. If you see how steep the property drops off, and as most people in town know with the lakefront properties, it's always steep drop off. So by code, we have to count the lower level is first floor. That's for zoning and for building. The second floor really is at the driveway entrance. And you can see the garage takes up most of that area. The light color are the existing livable spaces. The darkened area, the L shape around that, is an open porch that's being closed in to make that first floor livable space livable and to get a real kitchen in that space. And then the upper level is by definition a habitable attic. And that ties into amendments to the zone revisions to the plans that we coordinated with Mr. Donegan to keep the ridge height low enough, to keep the plate heights of the upper walls low enough. So everything counts as a 2.5-story structure by ordinance definition. So these zoning permits were in place before the main construction started. There were permits in place for framing repairs. And those were issued going back to last October. That work was being done October, November. We were doing plans to do the full construction for all the levels. And that was when too much of wall space was taken down. So the overall footprint, again, is not changing with the exception of getting stairs on the side. If you notice on that first floor, if we tried to put the stairs into the structure, there's really not enough room to make it a reasonable livable space. The whole structure, first floor is 451 square feet with 217 square feet added to that for 668. Second floor, 176 is the occupiable space. And when the porch gets enclosed, that becomes 329, adds 329. So for 505, the habitable attic is 287. So all this square footage comes up to 1,460 square feet. So it's not a very large building. And the idea was to work with the footprint and comply with or maintain all the existing non-conforming setbacks. So that's the portion of the house structure. Any questions on that part? And then I can go into setbacks.
Any fun? I think we're good.
Okay, and then again, the whole dilemma, one of the issues is these plans also included changing the wood frame floor to a metal deck with steel beams and concrete floor, which is really the right way garages are built nowadays when there's crawl spaces underneath. As many of you may have seen, there's a lot of wood garage floors around the lake that you really don't want to walk in, much less park in them. So one of the tricky parts for the contractor was saying, all right, how do we fix this floor, elevate the wall so you can pour concrete under it and put it all back together again. So when they were doing that work, that was the dilemma of when they ended up taking down too much wall space. As an architect, we're always told what to build on the plans, but never tell somebody how to do that. That way, if something like this happens, we're not responsible for removing the walls.
All right.
So with that said, I mean, what essentially was gonna happen without our appearance here today, this project would have went forward, but for this faux pas on the part of the contractor. And we're here, of course, to be in compliance, of course, with the law. Mr. Donegan had indicated, he had to view it now as you know, this new construction, and that's why we're here. And
Is there any increase in non-conformity? You have that little bump out for the staircase.
The little bump out is 7.5 feet proposed. The existing structure, there was a little electrical room on this lower right corner. So you'll notice that it was 6.0 feet. When that electrical corner gets removed, it increases 7.45. So we held that 7.5. And again, that was with a previous approved zoning permit that coordinated with Mr. Donegan. So we're not further decreasing that right side setback. The front yard setback is existing. We're not changing that. There's a concrete pad there. Again, the dilemma is you take this house and move it away from the street to fix the front yard setback. Now you're closer to the lake. You increase your lot coverage. So it triggers two other variance dilemmas that we're trying to avoid. So again, the whole thing was keeping everything as the same as possible, except for legitimate stairs on the right side.
Any questions, architects? No? Okay, seeing none, I'll open this application to the public. Does anybody from the public wish to comment on this application? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board, and wait for motion.
Just a comment, we had a prior application with parking area, that approval stays in
Stays.
force. In effect, that parking area is restricted to this property, because you'll see there's no parking spaces on this. So in terms of variance relief, it's basically all pre-existing, but we'll note the nonconformities in the resolution.
Okay.
Right, and that is a separate property. We weren't involved in that property. That was the Cariaga plan for that.
Okay.
Of course, they're all Bronstein properties, but that's why we wanted to make sure this garage is built adequately so we can keep cars in there safely.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. Motion in a second.
Mr. Sherley?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. Cameron?
Yes.
Ms. Croft?
Yes.
Ms. Councilman Kuzic?
Yes.
Chairman Ray?
Yes.
Ms. Snell?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mayor Gladys?
Yes.
Thank you kindly. Appreciate your time, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Oh, yeah. So if we could just have a motion to waive memorialization so he can get the construction going again. Would be a possibility.
With same contract though, or?
Same contract. Well, we didn't. I'm not gonna say anything.
Okay, we have a motion to waive the memorialization.
Made the motion.
Second.
Mr. Sherley?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. Cameron?
Yes.
Ms. Croft?
Yes.
Councilman Kuzic?
Yes.
Chairman Ray?
Yes.
Ms. Snell?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mayor Gladys?
Okay,
Thank
good to
you.
go.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, the meeting is open to the public. Does anybody from the public wish to comment? You want to go back to? Well, do that one, or just throw that one? All right.
We got the
Hold on.
plan.
Let's, what was that? Okay, at this time, we're gonna have the planner, engineer, give us a little rundown on the.
Sure. Okay, so in front of you tonight is a copy of the borough's housing element and fair share plan. A little bit of context, the housing element is an element of your master plan. The fair share plan, and then they're kind of inclusive terms of the housing element and the fair share plan are addressed together. The fair share plan is in response to the fourth round of affordable housing for 2025 through 2035. And this is a guiding planning document for the borough's intent to establish reasonable opportunities for affordable housing in the community to help satisfy the need that's been established through state legislation. So the document consists of roughly about 30 pages long. The first 16 pages of the document, going through the table of contents down to item E, is history of affordable housing, context on municipal housing inventory, projections of housing, and analysis of demographics. It is essentially an analysis of census data. That is what we'll call the housing element. That's the analysis of the housing stock, the proportions between rental units and mortgaged homes, and an understanding of the demographics and the characteristics in the community that lay the foundation for how overall housing need, whether it be at market rate or affordable housing. Sections E through the end of the document, that is essentially our discussion of the fair share plan. So if we turn to E, we look at the present and prospective fair share determinations, a little bit of history of the fair share, the Fair Housing Act, regional context of the Region 2 that we're in, which includes Essex, Sussex, Union, and Warren, parts of each. The housing regions are not specific to any of the counties. Although municipalities are in only one region, they are not split. then we get into page 18 is a discussion of prior round obligations. Municipality had not previously participated in third round or first, second, or third round, and there were no developer objections and suits to the municipality, so it leaves us in a somewhat unique position in that there is an absence of guidance from the DCA on how to determine your prior round obligations without a third-party settlement. So in the prior rounds, essentially, everybody's plans came to fruition through settlement in litigation. Without that litigation, there is no established methodology to identify specifically what our prior obligations were that we did not participate in. So we look at that as essentially a black box question mark of acknowledging that there are additional units from prior rounds that are not quantified that would contribute into our overall housing plan. So our fourth round number plus an undetermined amount at this time. The fourth round is a process that started with legislation, but in terms of our steps and our process, in October of last year, with the DCA indicating what the calculation was for our present and prospective need, that was a 3 present need and a 306 prospective need for a 309 fourth round obligation. We then, as a municipality, reviewed that analysis, came up with our own independent analysis, and resolved by resolution, adopted our obligation of 244. That obligation had been challenged by the Builders Association, brought to the courts, and ultimately it was decided that the court sided with our number of the 247 total fourth round obligation. That's the 3 present, which remains the same in both calculations, and then our reduced number of 244, 247 units. So when we look at our housing plan, the intent is to identify how to deliver 247 units over the 10-year period, as well as potentially durational adjustments into the future based on opportunity. And then some asterisk number of units still to be quantified that still has to be essentially addressed by legislation. So the rest of the document is our guiding planning tool. So there are discussions in this document regarding methodologies on identifying minimums and maximums of numbers of units to overall comply with UHAC and other regulations and guiding documents from the state. Particularly how many units need to be low, medium, low, very low, or low and moderate income housing. And then we look into item F, considerations of appropriate sites. It's a discussion of, available sites, approvable sites, developable sites, suitable sites, what they call in the industry the ABLES, the 4 ABLES. And so what the municipality's goal is in a document like this is to support the opportunity for these 4 ABLES. Available properties for development, approvable properties in terms of things that can come to this land use board with reasonable expectations of design standards and fitting into the zones or in an overlay zone that specifically allows for the whether it be rental units or for sale units of affordable developable sites in terms of overall constraints of utilities in the area, as well as whether or not they're particularly suitable for the type of development. And so what we find in our municipality is there are a lot of constraints. We're all very well aware of them, right? The shallow rock, the proximity to the resources of Lake Opakong, the preservation areas of the highlands, restrictions on our utilities, our water availability, our sewer availability. And so all of these stack up against the ability to identify specific sites and then to sponsor sites and to work with developers in larger scale quantities of delivering units, that the feasibility of a fair share plan that provides a clear roadmap to delivering those units is not something that's practicable for us at this time. Given the time frame that was given to us by the state and the opportunities are slim for us to endorse and to promote. So our document focuses on discussing the tools that are available and creating an initial roadmap for planning. Looking at vacant land adjustment is one of our critical tools. Looking at reducing our number further from the 247 based on vacant land in the municipality. And identifying where it's not feasible to develop. And reducing that overall obligation, as well as durational adjustments, which essentially is extending the time frame from a 10-year horizon out further than that to be able to work with developers on sites that may be suitable, but to deliver something when those utilities and other infrastructure are available, and they may not be available in this 10-year period. So the overall recommendation coming out of this report is, in this plan, is looking at establishing an affordable housing subcommittee of the borough, which would, in our recommendations would be participating members from your governing body and your land use board, because those are those most intimate with understanding what the obligation of the township of the borough is. The obligation of the borough by legislation is to deliver units, deliver opportunity for units to be constructed. And then the land use board's position is, one, this is your document. It's not the governing body's document. This fair share plan, this housing element is part of your master plan. That's your jurisdiction, your obligation to address. That's why it's here with you first. But then also you're the approving body for site plan approvals. And so those approvals are going to be in support of affordable housing opportunities. We want to make sure that where we identify opportunity to deliver units on specific properties in the future, we have the ability to have an application come forward that can reasonably be approved. So along with establishing that subcommittee, which is a big first step for this community in terms of starting to address and proactively address affordable housing, as opposed to in prior rounds, we were essentially a silent bystander to that. We also look at incorporating an overlay zone, an affordable housing overlay zone, which is essentially a floating zone where this subcommittee would work towards identifying what portions of the community in what zones, what lots and blocks are appropriately suitable for that overlay. So if it's a residential area, commercial, industrial area, where that overlay zone would specifically allow affordable housing residential development. And then with that overlay zone is where that subcommittee would start to craft an ordinance that identifies the density that's appropriate, the total number, amount of impervious coverage, all other bulk and design standards that would go into delivering those units. And so really, this document that's in front of you for consideration and adoption, and before we do that, we will open for public hearing. It's a living document. It's part of our master plan, like any other part and element of our master plan. It's meant to be re-examined. It's meant to be a guidance to us, and it is not, it is a flyover level that is meant for other opportunities to get and drill down to the site specifics. In some plans, in some communities, there's an opportunity to identify specific property that could be identified and deliver X amount of units and start to be more tangible towards that goal. Our community has frankly too many constraints that play against that our municipal, that our borough as a whole, as a governing entity, cannot guarantee the ability to deliver those units at specific sites at this time. So we are under our statutory obligation and our deadlines, addressing this here tonight so that it can be brought through and adopted and then brought to the governing body so they can endorse it as well, and it can be filed with the courts, provides protections against certain litigations and appeals. And then from there, the document doesn't go on a shelf to gather dust, but instead we have this discussion about our subcommittee and we go into annual, reorgs with our governing body in this board, and we identify the right shareholders in this community that can help us deliver some tangible units in certain locations. And we start to chip away at our need for affordable housing.
This is just, we're doing the best we can with what we have.
Absolutely.
I mean, we can only do so much right here, so.
Yes, and the creation of this plan is not an acknowledgement that it's a fire sale for a developer to come into town to put affordable housing in your neighborhood for any of the residents to understand. This is part of inclusionary land use planning. We need to plan for this and we need to not be silent on it. So we're reinforcing our code with our planning documents.
Right, at this time, I'll open it to the public. Does anybody wish to comment on this resolution? Come forward.
No, it's just discussion.
Oh, okay. So just on the overlay zone, and
Yes.
when you put an overlay zone, what does that mean to the home properties in that area? Because I would imagine it holds the properties at a certain value so that it maintains affordability. But at the same time, for those people who own those homes, you're almost going against them having the ability to have their house appreciate. So how does that happen? And like, what are the rights of the residents who own those homes in those areas?
So an overlay zone preserves the existing zoning in that area. So if we're talking about a residential zone in our community, that zoning still applies. It still applies to all the properties in that zone. And then the overlay zone is a alternative option to accommodate inclusion of, in this case, affordable housing. So it would be an opportunity to
Convert or develop?
convert or develop, reinvigorate a piece of property, underutilized property or otherwise, or purchase, demolish and replace with housing that is specifically, let's say, apartments or for sale at this income level.
So is the purchase at market rates?
No, the purchase of the property,
At market rates?
the purchase of the property is a initially for the developer is, yes, a market rate discussion.
And then after that.
And then from there, how they decide to invest in the property, obtain an approval, and then utilize the property for affordable housing is their own mechanism. The overlay zone provides the permission of that use in that zone that's not currently permitted.
So it's not hurting anybody.
No, the underlying
It doesn't
zoning is
affect the
preserved, and so
value.
the value of the homes in that zone are still preserved.
So what
Or
you're
the
saying,
businesses in that zone.
if there was 3 dilapidated houses somebody bought the 3 of them, a developer, and he said, we want to come in and do affordable housing here in that residential zone, they could do it.
Yes,
Just an overlay, it just expands it out a little bit.
so it's a tool for redevelopment in a way, to take underutilized properties, and that would be part of the considerations on where the overlay is on areas that have historically had issues of underutilization. And it's important that people understand that when we talk about affordable housing, we're not talking about government housing for people without
Section 8.
value to, the community, and
It's not.
it's not Section 8 housing,
Separate.
it's not what you might find as the traditional projects in the cities. Affordable housing is a range from very low to moderate income. It's very often young professionals in our community, young tradesmen in our community, those that you may find on, our ambulance services. fire services.
year income.
Yeah,
Even
um,
100 grand.
and it is,
even
yeah.
Is counts as a.
And so we're talking about providing housing opportunities to the next, essentially, a lot of it is to the next generation of those becoming the integral part of your community.
But by doing so, you could be increasing the density of the population in those residential zones, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay,
And that
but you
is,
could impact the home values in that area by increasing the density.
correct, and that's why at this time, we're not providing specifics of the zone and the plan to deliver the units. We're looking at creating the opportunities for inclusion and then tasking a subcommittee with starting to identify where these are most appropriate.
So right now,
So
in
this-
front of us is basically, we have to adopt something.
We have to adopt something
By-
to provide legal protection from what we call builder's remedy lawsuits, where a builder comes in and says you haven't addressed your obligation under the legislation. And then they come in and with that builder's remedy, the courts are in their favor to develop exactly what they want, how they want, with really little say.
So they could come in and say, okay, we're gonna do 500 units, where right now, we only set that we can only do 274.
Correct.
And we can't even comply with that.
We can't, no, we
No,
can't.
This
and
is
so
just something that the state is
right, so the
requiring.
intent, right, the intent is to create the opportunity to deliver units over time in the right portions of our municipality by maintaining the control that we have over self-governing our land use.
And the subcommittee can say, okay, we're gonna do this in 20 years. We're not gonna
Well,
do
no,
this.
there's a timeframe
This
with
is-
which to enact your ordinances. This is to take the pressure off right now by the end of this.
No, but I
month.
mean, as far as
And
reaching,
then we've got a prescribed time period, if we have an overlay zone, to enact that ordinance.
so in other words, to reach 247 units, we can do that in 20 years. We don't have to.
We can do that over, right, we want to start addressing it in the 10 years of this round.
Gotcha.
And then we can look at durational adjustments and specify how long we
If,
think it would
if we
take.
don't adopt this, what's gonna happen is the government's gonna step up and say, guess what?
You got
247's gone, now you have to
Yeah,
do
this-
three
This
forty-seven.
keeps it in our control, right?
Right,
We, the
right.
borough can control how it goes, so.
And then we can
Yeah.
look at where we find it appropriate to do, say, 100% affordable unit, where we find swaying ranges of percentages, which typically with market rate and affordable is a 20-80-20 set aside. So you'd have 80% of those units being market rate and 20% affordable. And so that's where we look at the land use components and where we find it to be particularly suitable in a municipality. We think in a business corridor, there's an opportunity to do apartments over businesses and stimulating other types of redevelopment. We put all that on the table with the subcommittee and we started to identify where in the community the inclusion would be contemplated, and then from there, we can say where it is and isn't appropriate. After we contemplate.
And we have the ability to
Correct.
control.
And by doing this at this time, we preserve that right to do it ourselves and self-govern.
Is there a way that you constrain the definition to ones that is simply houses that are abandoned versus a market seller and a market buyer agreeing that they're gonna put their house here in this redevelopment controlled situation?
So I think we would encourage redevelopment through area in need and other planning mechanisms to establish particularly underutilized properties to be under a spotlight to say that this is a property that's particularly suitable for redevelopment and perhaps these types of inclusionary development. As opposed to the overlay zone would not be as exclusive in its definitions. It needs to inherently be inclusive over certain areas. It's not spot zoning, right? We have to be careful not to do spot zoning. So where you might consider something looking like spot zoning, we'd really be talking about specific properties that are in an area in need of redevelopment and going through a different mechanism to help those underutilized properties become a more contributable part of our tax basis.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else from the public wish to comment? Seeing- What?
Will be public speaking after that?
Yeah.
Yeah, there will be after.
We'll get there. So, okay, I'll close it to public and bring it back to the board. So I guess this is a document that we should adopt. And
Yeah, so
moving
my
forward.
recommendation to you to, there is a resolution in front of you. To take a vote for the resolution to adopt the resolution, and then it will be, brought to the governing body to take their action.
Motion.
I'll make a motion. Yep, second. Yep. Motion in a second?
Mr. Sherlin,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Mr. Kavik,
Yes.
Ms. Crock,
Yes.
Councilman Kuzinich,
Yes.
Chairman Ray,
Yes.
Ms. Snow,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mayor Galati.
Yes.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Joe. Okay, at this time, we're gonna open the meeting to the public. Does anybody from the public wish to comment? Step right up, good?
Hello, Chairman Ray, fellow board members. My name is Richard Martin. I'm a deeding member to the Logan Hills Community Club. Some of you in the board in the past might know who I am from 21, 20 to 23. We had some contentious meetings over a dock that we have taken care of. Recently, Bill had given me a call and he received a complaint from the same neighbors that complained about our dock the last time. Bill came down, same dock that we've had in the water for the last 2 years with no complaints. Bill came down, gave me a document, said our dock can only be so long. It was 1.5 feet over what it should have been. No problems, we took care of it. The other complaint was our signage on our beach club fences. We have 2 gates, entrance gates. One the main gate that's right across the street from my house. And we have a gate on the right-hand side that's a larger gate that we had no parking signs on. The
Are
question.
they always there, the gates? What are the signs
They've
always
always been there, the signs have always been there.
Okay.
We have a sign on the front that says no trespassing. We also have a sign that says Logan Hills Community Club with the address and a nice logo on it.
Okay.
And in our parking lot, where we have parking for 5 cars, we've put up a sign that says parking, reserved parking for Logan Hills Community Club members only. While enjoying the beach, all of the cars will be towed away. The reason for that sign was our neighbors in the past who were former members of the club were using it for their construction vehicles when they were doing construction on their house. My question to the board is, what is the ordinances on our signs? And I wish to comply with any ordinances that we have to. I have pictures of the signs in the front of the property if you'd like to see them.
You could make an application for a sign permit from the zoning office. Bill can rule on that.
Wouldn't that be site plan?
I mean, the signs have been on the,
Yeah.
what, like just signs on the fence that have been there, Bill? I mean, is it?
Yeah, but unfortunately, I mean, it's. I mean, see what the board said, eventually in my mind, signage, parking, be something that requires an amendment of site plan.
I mean, I just hear, well, I do always remember signs of some, you know,
Oh, yeah.
did I read them or,
absolutely,
you know?
answer my question.
Yeah, just, so I don't see it's a big, I think it's,
If they comply with the dimensional requirements, then the size of the signs.
Can I speak because I.
He's the person who, yes, he's the neighbor.
okay, let him finish and then we'll.
I just wanna know what I need to do to comply, cause we don't wanna go through the same thing we did a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
It was very contentious and after it was all over, the community that we had at one time is no longer in place.
So the signs that you have are mounted to the fence, they're not
Correct.
freestanding, they're not,
They're not illuminated, they're not.
no lights on.
I got one over right above the one sign that says our name on it.
Okay, so I don't know.
I can, sure, 34 Shore Road. I live right across the street.
Yeah, the beach, the local.
I can show you the.
Yeah, we
would
could.
you like-
Stone.
Did you pass
would you
that
like
over?
to see the picture?
Alright, so what, Bill, what's the problem with this? So you just,
It's all street parking,
You know, the-
parking signs.
You know, it's brought to my attention is it appropriates a complaint.
Are you talking about this sign?
okay,
That's my local, yes, that's the sign that's right across the street from my house. Scenario is that it's my understanding that, you know, any signs that on this type of property, commercial or, you know, it's not any parking and the exterior really figures the need for site plan approval or amendment. And that was my position.
You're saying it's on street.
The reason why it's delineated was on street parking.
Yeah,
But it's a gate, it's
I
an
mean, on
entrance
street
gate.
parking, I mean, obviously if there's people parked in that parking lot, you can't park on street in front of them, I mean, right, I mean.
I removed the no parking sign from the fence that she's talking about, and that's what happened the next day.
It's on street parking. There's no reason for that sign. I don't care about the signs in the parking. That's their parking.
Okay.
That's not what I.
I'm not here.
Alright, so what, I mean, let's do. what-
There's a fence, and there is only street parking available there that they put up a new parking sign. That's the only thing that I complained about. The fact that they had one of the signs up. They do have a gate, which is right next to my property, but they had two no parking signs on it. It was a little excessive. We know there's no parking there. And people know not to park there. It just was excessive. The ones that they have for the community club are actually very nice signs. Well, I didn't complain about their community club. I just said, there's a town ordinance that says you can't put up signs without it having been approved by the town, especially when it says no parking, like it's a formal town sign for no parking. If it's on street parking, why are you not allowing people to park on the street?
Well, I guess in front of the fence or whatever, I mean, if that's on street parking, it's on street parking, right, Bill? I mean, the parking that goes in on into the beach club is.
It's there.
Correct. But I guess whatever, I mean,
You can't
Can't
post, you can't post.
post on the
a
fence.
food Sign on your fence to prohibit the public from using the public roadway to park.
Well, then.
But if we do allow parking in this area, which is right across the street from my house, when there's cars parked there, which is what you're saying should be public parking,
It is public.
it becomes for parking, a hazard to the people that are coming in and out of the beach club, plus the people that are walking down my stairs.
But you're saying there's no access,
It's actually a fire, yes.
Well, then you have to call the fire.
Exactly, as Ms. Morgan said, it's a parking ordinance issue. If we go to the governing body and say, look, this is a safety issue. You should prohibit parking on this side of the road between this point and that. You can go to the governing body and raise that issue and explain why you feel it is a safety issue. Take your photographs, and the Borough of Paccon could enact an ordinance at their discretion to prohibit parking in that area.
And then, so our large entrance gate, which he's talking about, which he's saying is on-street parking, how are they gonna be able to block
Well,
that?
I don't think, I don't think you should be blocking a gate to get access to your property.
Well, that's,
I mean, it is their property. I mean,
Well,
the
the gate would-
on-street parking, you can't block off their
The
access.
gate would reasonably be expected to be on the property as opposed to in the right of way.
Yeah. Is that gate on your property?
the gate is a foot and a half out from where our property line begins.
Into the road.
Oh,
Yeah, you wanna see, here, I have the
you're saying
picture.
they're encroaching on town property?
I have a picture.
So is everybody else in
It's
town.
right away. The whole back of this place is different. Yeah.
You can't do nothing about it, right?
No,
You can't do nothing about it. They have a parking lot there, is what I'm saying.
yeah, I mean, you have your designated spots that are yours, and obviously you can't block those spots that you pull into your thing. But I mean, whatever else is it's on-street parking, I don't know.
If it's on street parking, there should be any stop signs. Or no parking signs.
So if I change the no parking sign on the gate to private property, do not block entrance gate?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
So then if I need access to my club and there's somebody parked there, what should I do?
Call police.
Okay,
I mean,
I will be
There's
calling
no
the police.
obstruction of access to a private driveway. It's under Title 39.
yeah,
The 39-4 138
so you
H.
just can't park in front of the gate that's
Thanks,
open
Danny.
and closed.
Hey, I gotta use,
I thought it was Jay. If you say it's Dave, I'm gonna go with you.
gotta use some of that training for some, Bobby.
This is the fence that she's talking about.
I thought if there's a vehicle blocking a gate to gain access to it, then you have to call the police and
Okay.
whatever. I mean, it's not our,
Okay,
you know?
Well, you can, is this like a driveway into the beach?
correct. That's a driveway entrance into the beach club.
So can you just put-
It's been there for 70 years.
This is another member of our club.
Who is parking, is there vehicles, who parks there? Your members? Who parks in
Nobody
front of-
parks there because the no parking sign is there. The reason the no parking sign has been there for years was because landscapers were parking
It is
there.
tight down there. Yeah, I mean, you see a long stretch of open thing when you got a trailer or something, that's where I'm gonna park.
Right, and
You
they've
know?
caused damage to the property and no report.
But no, do not block it. Access. Or something.
That's what I'm saying. Instead of a no parking sign, can I put up a private property, do not block access? If I take that fence and I move it back 1.5 feet, then it's on our property. This has been in existence for 70 years, whatever it may be. I don't understand how somebody can come in here, move into this town, be here for less than 10 years and cause all this problems in the community.
All right, well, I think we kind of gave you an answer what you gotta do. If
Correct.
Somebody's blocking it, you call the police.
All
I
right,
mean, we can't, I can't say that you could put a no parking sign on the street, because it's a street, you know, so.
We don't have jurisdiction.
Right, right.
but it's not the public street that's just there. It's not the street.
Well, if they're parking in
It's
front
on
of
the
the fence, it's on
property.
the road,
It's on the
right?
road there.
How do you get to the fence? Don't you go on a public street to get there?
Yeah, of course.
Well,
You know the
it's a
property.
public street, yeah.
You know the
well,
property.
yeah. I know
I
the
would say
problem.
it's a
You know the problem too.
Please don't block access gate.
Right.
Be a nice neighbor. I don't know.
Right, that's all,
Something.
right.
The whole gate, you can't stop anybody from parking in front of the whole gate, though. It's the road.
And if the police decline to do anything, you can sign the summons.
It's crazy.
Okay. And I will call every time there's a car parked in front of the.
Perfect.
Thank you very much
All
for the
right.
clarification. It was a pleasure seeing you guys.
Thanks for coming.
So the upshot was, it's okay for the signs in the access the park area. But other than that,
Because they
the
get over.
signs shouldn't be.
On the fence, right?
So like,
The
remove
ones in
the
your parking lot, you can keep.
Keep that.
The ones on the fence and the
the
road.
Logan Hills Community Club signs?
You identify it?
Anything that's in your parking lot.
That's on our
that says-
property?
Yeah, that's in your property. Yeah,
Okay.
private property.
All right,
You can't park,
okay,
or member, whatever.
all right.
But you
Again,
can't
I
put it on,
don't
you
want
can't put
to
it down
turn
the
it
whole
into
property.
another two-year, back and forth with my neighbors that we're no longer getting along.
Hopefully we don't see you anytime soon.
Yeah, you will. You will,
All right.
I'm sure.
All right, does anybody else from the public have any comments from the board?
Hi, Jennifer Johnson. I have a comment for the land use board for further review. The council is currently talking about a cannabis ordinance that will be discussed in the next couple of meetings or months. And it was brought to my attention that in our zoning code, we have a restriction, a total restriction for cannabis in the borough of Hopatcong that would need to be changed. So I think that the way that it works is that the council would introduce the ordinance, it would come through land use board for review, you would make necessary changes, and then it would come back to us for the second and final reading. So I just wanted to put that on your radar.
When was that? Who made that ordinance?
Well,
Which
I think that
there
was
is no
the
ordinance yet.
No, Bill, where we?
Cannabis is a prohibited use.
Prohibited use, thank
In
you.
the borough of Hopatcong, there's an ordinance that lists all the prohibited uses, and cannabis is comprehensively in there. Some of the municipalities allow various stages of cannabis, production, sale, whatever. Hopatcong has a blanket prohibition.
That predates the legislation or
Yes.
part of the, was part of the,
In response
in
to-
response, right, as part of that first action you had to take.
In 2020, right?
So in 2020, you had to take action
Yeah.
to either
Right
grant
now,
inclusion
it's prohibited.
or prohibit.
So many of the municipalities prohibited initially, some have retreated on that and permit Andover Borough and Newton, of course. Others have
So-
held the line.
So we're not ready for any,
No,
I mean,
no,
we're just,
Before
when it comes before us, then we'll discuss it.
Oh, I just wanted to put it on your radar. That was all.
All right, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else from the public? See enough from the public, I'll close it back to the board, and Judy,
Motion to
thank
adjourn.
you.
Second.
I've been waiting for like an hour to say that.
You don't have an opinion until it comes. to our